Humans tried to kill her. 23 seconds later, she stood triumphant. Hana woke up 3 days later. The first thing she noticed was the absence of pain. That was wrong. She should be hurting. Should be drowning in pain from broken bones and burns and punctured lungs. She opened her eyes. White ceiling. Medical equipment. The steady beep of monitors. A hospital room. Welcome back, a voice said. Dr. Unji sat in a chair beside the bed. She looked tired. You've been out for 72 hours. We had to keep you sedated while your body healed. Hana tried to sit up. Couldn't. Her body was wrapped in medical gel and support braces. She could barely move. How bad? She asked. Bad, Unji replied. 3 broken ribs. Fractured left arm. 2nd and 3rd degree burns across 30% of your body. Punctured lung. Internal bleeding. Severe concussion. 14 bone fractures total. Enough damage that by all rights you should be dead. But I'm not. No, Unji said. You're not. Your medical file says you're stubborn. I think that's an understatement. The door opened. Commander Yuna walked in. She stopped when she saw Hana was awake. Relief washed across her face. You scared us, Yuna said simply. Sorry, Hana replied. Didn't mean to. Yes, you did, Yuna said. But she was smiling. She pulled up another chair. You stood up when you should have been dead. You fought when you should have been impossible to fight. You won when there was no way to win. Very you, what happened? Hana asked. After the surgery. After I passed out. Yuna's expression turned serious. A lot. You want the military report or the personal version? Personal. Borum and her Marines secured the plaza. Recovered the bodies. Dabin, Mireille, Jiwon, Ambassador Sunho. We brought them home. They're being prepared for full military honors. Hana closed her eyes, felt the grief hit her. They were gone. Really gone? Not coming back, the Vrin? She asked. That's where it gets interesting, Yuna said. Within 6 hours of your fight, we received a communication from Vrin High Command. They want to negotiate. Formal peace talks. No tricks, no ambushes. Real negotiations. Hana opened her eyes. Why? Because of you, Yuna said. The footage of your fight went everywhere. Every species in the galaxy has seen it. The human who stood up after 23 seconds. Who fought impossible odds and won. You became a symbol. Not just to us. To everyone. I didn't ask for that. No one asked to be a symbol, Yuna replied. But sometimes the galaxy needs one anyway. The other species see you and think maybe humans aren't as weak as they thought. Maybe we're worth respecting. Worth negotiating with instead of pushing around. The door opened again. Captain Borum walked in. She carried a datapad. Captain Hana, she said formally. Then she grinned. Good to see you awake. Thought you were going to sleep through all the interesting parts. What interesting parts? Hana asked. Borum handed her the datapad. The galaxy's reaction to your fight. You've become famous. Well, more famous. There are songs about you. Actual songs. The Kellen Federation has offered a formal alliance with humanity. 3 other species have sent diplomatic envoys. And the news networks can't stop talking about the 23 seconds. Hana looked at the datapad. Saw footage of herself standing up in the plaza. The image had been captured from one of the Vrin mechs. It showed her broken and bleeding, but standing. The image was everywhere. On news sites, on social media, even on propaganda posters. I look terrible, she said. You look human, Yuna replied. That's the point. You look like someone who should be dead but refuses to die. Every human who sees that image feels pride. Every alien who sees it feels respect, or fear. I don't want people to fear humans, Hana said. Then they should respect us instead, Borum said. But the galaxy only offers 2 choices. Be feared or be walked on. You showed them we won't be walked on, so they fear us. And that fear brought them to the negotiating table. Hana was quiet for a moment, processing. She had just wanted to survive, wanted to protect Ambassador Sunho and her team. She hadn't thought about the bigger picture, about what her survival would mean. When are the peace talks? She asked. 2 weeks, Yuna said. Human diplomat Taehyun is leading them. He's good, smart, but he specifically requested something. What? He wants you there, Hana laughed. Then winced as it hurt her ribs. I can barely move. How am I supposed to attend peace talks? By the time the talks start, you'll be mobile, Yunji said. Mostly. You'll be in a medical brace. Won't be doing any fighting. but you can sit in a chair and look intimidating." "I don't look intimidating," Hana protested. All three women stared at her. "Captain," Borum said, "you stood up 23 seconds after being killed. You fought 14 war mechs with a broken body and won. The Vryn commander tried to execute you personally and you beat him with his own weapon. You are the definition of intimidating." "She's right," Yuna added. "The Vryn are coming to the peace talks because they're afraid of what humans can do. You're proof of what we can do. Your presence will remind them why they're negotiating instead of fighting." "I'm a prop," Hana said. "You're a symbol," Yuna corrected. "There's a difference. A prop just sits there. A symbol inspires people, makes them believe, makes them try harder. You're that symbol." Over the next 2 weeks, Hana healed. Slowly, painfully. But she healed. Yunji kept her on strict medical protocols. Limited movement. Lots of rest. Medications that made her drowsy. But Hana refused to stay in bed. As soon as she could walk, she walked. As soon as she could move without the braces, she practiced. Pushed herself. Maybe too hard. But she couldn't help it. On the 10th day, she visited the memorial. They had built it in the ship's observation deck. 4 names. 4 faces: Dabin, Mirai, Jiwon, Sunho, her team. Her friends. Dead because they had been protecting her. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "You deserved better than this. Deserved to see the peace you fought for." She placed her damaged armor at the base of the memorial. The suit was destroyed. Beyond repair. It had saved her life. But it was done now. She left it there as an offering. A reminder. Yuna found her there an hour later. Stood beside her in silence. Finally spoke. "I have a new assignment for you," Yuna said. "After the peace talks. After all this is over. If you want it." "What assignment?" Hana asked. "Teaching," Yuna replied. "At the Human Defense Academy. Training the next generation. Showing them how to survive. How to fight. How to stand up when everything says to stay down." "I'm a soldier," Hana said. "Not a teacher." "You're both," Yuna replied. "And right now we need teachers. We need someone who can show young soldiers what it means to be human. What it means to never give up." Hana thought about it. Thought about going back to active combat. Back to the front lines. But she also thought about Dabin and Mirai and Jiwon. Young soldiers who had died following her orders. She could honor them by making sure the next generation was better prepared. Better trained. Better able to survive. "Okay," she said. "After the talks, I'll teach." "Good," Yuna said. "Because I already put in the transfer request." Hana almost laughed. Almost. "You were sure I'd say yes?" "I know you," Yuna replied. "You can't help but try to save people, even if it means teaching them instead of fighting beside them." The day of the peace talks arrived. Hana wore a formal uniform. Still had the medical brace under it. Still hurt when she moved. But she could walk. Could sit. Could look like a soldier who had survived impossible odds. The talks were held on a neutral station. Human delegates on one side, Vryn on the other. Dozens of other species watching. Everyone wanted to see this. The end of a war that had lasted 5 years. Taehyun led the human delegation. He was older, experienced. Had been negotiating with hostile species for decades. He saw Hana and nodded. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "Your presence matters." The Vryn delegation entered. Hana recognized Subcommander Kreltok. He was leading them. Thelvar was not present, probably in a Vryn prison. Or dead, she didn't know. Didn't care. Kreltok saw her. His eyes went wide. Then narrow. He looked like he wanted to say something. But he stayed silent. The talks began. Taehyun negotiated brilliantly. Pushed for reparations. For territory. For guarantees. The Vryn resisted. Pushed back. But every time they did, Taehyun would pause. Look at Hana. The Vryn would follow his gaze. See her sitting there. See the soldier who wouldn't die, and they would back down. Just a little. Just enough. The talks lasted 6 hours. By the end, they had an agreement. The war was over. Humanity had won. Not completely. Not perfectly. But enough. Enough to live. Enough to grow. Enough to be respected. As the delegates signed the treaty, Kreltok approached Hana, stood before her. They looked at each other for a long moment. "I watched the footage," he said finally. "Watched you stand up. I still don't understand how." "Humans don't know when to quit," Hana replied. "It's our best trait. And our worst. It makes you dangerous, Kreltok said. It makes us survivors, Hana corrected. There's a difference. He nodded slowly. Perhaps. I hope this peace holds. I hope we never have to test which of us is right. So do I, Hana said. He left. The treaty was signed. The war was over. Hana stood and walked to the window. Looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was celebrating peace, celebrating survival. She thought about the 23 seconds, about standing up when she should have stayed down, about fighting when she should have been dead. Humans tried to kill her. 23 seconds later, she stood triumphant. 6 months after the peace treaty, Hana stood in front of her first class. The Human Defense Academy was on Earth, built into the mountains of what used to be called Korea. The training facility was state-of-the-art. Everything a soldier needed to learn how to survive. 30 cadets sat in the classroom, young, eager. They looked at her like she was something special, like she was a hero from the story she hated it. My name is Captain Hana, she said. I'm going to be your instructor for advanced combat tactics. Before we start, I need to make something clear. I'm not a hero. I'm just stubborn and lucky. Mostly stubborn. A cadet raised his hand. But Captain, you're the soldier who stood up after 23 seconds, who defeated Commander Thelvar, who ended the war. No, Hana said firmly. I'm the soldier who got her entire team killed, who failed to protect Ambassador Sunho, who nearly died because I walked into an obvious trap. Don't confuse survival with success. The classroom went quiet. They hadn't expected that, probably expected her to tell war stories, to brag about her victories. 4 people died that day, Hana continued. Lieutenant Dabin, Sergeant Mirai, Corporal Jiwon, Ambassador Sunho. They died because I didn't recognize the ambush soon enough. Didn't react fast enough. They died protecting me. She walked between the rows of desks, made eye contact with each cadet. That's what I'm going to teach you, she said. How to recognize ambushes. How to react faster. How to protect your team. And most importantly, how to stand up when everything says to stay down. Because the galaxy is dangerous. And if you want to survive it, you need to be more stubborn than it is. Over the next weeks, she trained them hard. Took them through scenarios, combat simulations, tactical problems. She pushed them until they broke. Then taught them how to put themselves back together. She showed them the footage from Terran 5. All of it. Not just the famous 23 seconds. She showed them the ambush. Showed them her team dying. Showed them her mistakes. Here, she pointed at the screen. This is where I should have recognized the trap. The streets were too empty. No civilian traffic. That's always a warning sign. And here, she continued, this is where I should have ordered retreat. But I was focused on the mission, on getting Ambassador Sunho to the talks. I ignored my instincts. The cadets watched in silence, saw their hero admitting failure, admitting mistakes. It was a hard lesson, but necessary. One cadet, a young woman named Hyeji, asked a question. But Captain, if you made all those mistakes, how did you win? I didn't give up, Hana replied simply. That's the secret. The galaxy doesn't care about your mistakes. It only cares whether you keep fighting after you make them. She taught them about the armor's emergency systems, about how to squeeze every second of power from dying equipment, about using terrain to fight larger enemies, about working as a team. But most importantly, she taught them about the mental side, about pushing through pain, through fear, through the voice that says to stay down. Your body will lie to you, she told them. It will tell you that you can't keep going, that you're too hurt, too tired, too broken. And sometimes your body is right. Sometimes you need to retreat, to heal, to survive another day. She paused, made sure they were listening, but sometimes, she continued, sometimes your body is wrong. Sometimes you have more left than you think. Sometimes you can take one more step, fire one more shot, stand up one more time. Learning the difference between those two situations will keep you alive. She took them through exercises, made them run until they couldn't run anymore, then made them run more, made them fight while exhausted, while hurt, while everything told them to quit. Some of them broke, started crying, started complaining. She let them break. Because once they broke, she could teach them how to put themselves back together stronger. Being a soldier isn't about never breaking, she told them. It's about breaking and choosing to fight anyway. One afternoon, Commander Yuna visited the academy. She watched Hana teaching. watched the cadets struggling through a combat course, watched Hana pushing them past their limits. After the class ended, they sat in Hana's office. "You're good at this," Yuna said. "The cadets respect you, fear you a little, but respect you." "They shouldn't," Hana replied. "I'm just teaching them what I learned the hard way." "That's exactly why they should respect you," Yuna said. "You paid for those lessons with blood, with loss. Now you're giving them those lessons for free, so they don't have to pay the same price." Hana was quiet for a moment. "Do you ever wonder if it was worth it? The war, the deaths, all of it. Every day," Yuna admitted. "But then I think about what we accomplished. We survived. We proved that humans deserve a place in the galaxy. We earned respect. That matters. Does it matter more than Dabin's life?" Hana asked quietly. "More than Mirai's? Chiwan's? Sanho's?" "No," Yuna said honestly. "But they chose to fight, chose to sacrifice. Honoring that choice means teaching others to survive, to fight smarter, to come home. That's what you're doing." After Yuna left, Hana sat alone in her office, thought about her students, about Dabin and Mirai and Jiwan, about what it all meant. Her terminal beeped. Incoming message. She opened it. It was from the Vryn embassy, from Sub-Commander Kreltok. "Captain Hana," the message read, "I hope this message finds you well. I am writing to inform you that Commander Thelvar has been tried by Vryn Military Court. He has been found guilty of unauthorized military action and murder of a diplomatic envoy. He has been sentenced to life imprisonment." The message continued. "I also wanted to thank you. The footage of your fight has become required viewing for all Vryn military commanders, not as propaganda, but as a lesson. You taught us that underestimating humans is fatal, that assuming victory is dangerous. That respect must be earned, not demanded. Your cadets are fortunate to have you as an instructor. I suspect the next generation of human soldiers will be even more formidable than the current one. The galaxy should be concerned, or perhaps grateful. It depends on whether we remain at peace. With respect, Sub-Commander Kreltok." Hana read the message twice, then saved it. It was strange. Getting a message from someone who had tried to kill her, who had watched his commander try to execute her. But war made strange friendships sometimes. The months passed. Hana's first class of cadets graduated. They were good. Better than good. They had learned the lessons well. Learned how to survive. How to fight smart. How to stand up. At the graduation ceremony, Cadet Hieji gave a speech. She was the top of her class, had earned it through hard work and determination. 6 months ago, Hieji said, we came here thinking we knew what it meant to be a soldier. We thought it was about being strong, being brave, being unbeatable. Captain Hana taught us differently. She taught us that being a soldier is about being stubborn, about standing up when you should stay down, about fighting when there's no logical reason to keep fighting. She taught us that humans aren't the strongest species, or the fastest, or the smartest, but we're the most stubborn, and sometimes that's all you need. Hieji looked directly at Hana. Thank you, Captain, for teaching us how to survive, for showing us what it means to be human. The cadets stood and saluted, 30 of them, her students. Ready to face the galaxy, Hana saluted back. Felt pride. These soldiers would do better than she had, would make fewer mistakes, would save more lives. That's what teaching was about, making the next generation better than the last. After the ceremony, she visited the memorial again, the one for Dabin, Mirai, Jiwon, and Sunho. She did this every month, came to remember, to honor, to promise that their deaths meant something. 30 more soldiers graduated today, she told the memorial, because of you. Because you gave me the chance to stand up, to survive, to teach. Thank you. She stood there for a long time, remembering. Then she turned and walked away. She had another class starting next week. More cadets to train, more lessons to teach. A year after the peace treaty, the Galactic News Networks did a special report. 1 year since the famous 23 seconds. They showed the footage again. Showed Hana standing up, fighting, winning. They interviewed her, asked her about that day, about what she was thinking when she stood up. I was thinking about my team, she said honestly, about how they died protecting others, about how I couldn't let their sacrifice be meaningless. So I stood up. Because that's what humans do. We stand up. The interviewer asked if she would do it again. If she had to, Hana thought about it. Thought about the pain, the fear, The close brush with death. Yes, she said finally. I would. Because someone has to stand up. Someone has to show the galaxy that humans don't quit. Might as well be me. The interview ended. The news networks played it everywhere. The footage of her standing up was shown again. And again. It never got old. Never stopped inspiring people. But Hannah didn't watch it. She was busy. Had a class to teach. Had students who needed to learn how to survive. She stood in front of them. 30 new faces, young and eager and naive. My name is Captain Hannah, she said, and I'm going to teach you how to survive when the galaxy tries to kill you. A cadet raised his hand. Is it true you stood up 23 seconds after being killed? Yes, Hannah said, and I'm going to teach you how to do it in 22. The asteroids opened fire first. Thousands of platforms that had looked like ordinary rocks suddenly came alive. Panels slid open. Weapons emerged. In less than 2 seconds, the space between Earth and Mars lit up with energy beams and kinetic projectiles. Admiral Velcros barely had time to react. What is that? Where did those weapons come from? Multiple contacts. Thousands of them. They are inside the asteroids. The Valter fleet was caught completely off guard. Ships that had been moving confidently forward suddenly found themselves under attack from all directions. Energy beams punched through shields that were designed to stop conventional weapons. Kinetic rounds traveling at impossible speeds tore through armor plating. The beautiful formation that Velcros had maintained began to break apart. Return fire. All ships, return fire. Velcros screamed. The Valters tried. Their massive warships turned their weapons toward the asteroids and fired. Some platforms were destroyed, but there were too many of them. And they were small, hard to target. While the Valters focused on the platforms, something else happened. Mars came alive. The red planet's surface suddenly rippled with movement. Huge doors opened in the ground. Launch bays that had been hidden for decades revealed themselves. Missile batteries rose from underground bunkers. And then Mars began to fire. Thousands of missiles streaked toward the Valter fleet. These were not primitive chemical rockets. These were sophisticated weapons that could think, adapt, and hunt. They dodged defensive fire. They worked together in groups. They found weak points in Valter shields and exploited them. Ships are reporting massive damage, an officer shouted. We have lost over 5,000 vessels. 5,000? In 2 minutes? Velcros could not believe it. How is this possible? Commander Hyunwoo watched the chaos unfold. He stayed calm even as the flagship shook from multiple impacts. Officers were running back and forth. Screens were showing damage reports from across the fleet. It was exactly what Earth had planned. Admiral, we need to retreat, an officer pleaded. No, we outnumber them. We can still win this. Sir, we are being cut apart. Velcros ignored him. He stared at the tactical display, trying to understand what was happening. The human decoy fleet was still ahead of them, but it had not fired a single shot. Those 300 ships were just sitting there, watching the Valters get destroyed by automated platforms and missiles from Mars. Something is wrong, Velcros muttered. Where is their real fleet? On Earth, General Sora smiled. Captain Dae-jung, activate the hidden fleet. Yes, General. Dae-jung pressed a series of commands. Throughout the solar system, thousands of ships that had been running in complete stealth mode suddenly became visible. They had been there all along, hidden among the asteroids, concealed in the shadows of moons, camouflaged against the dark of space. The Valters had been looking for 300 human ships. They found 3,000. These were not outdated vessels. These were warships built specifically to fight the Valter Empire. Every weapon had been designed to counter Valter technology. Every tactic had been developed after years of studying Valter battles. And every crew had trained for this exact moment. The hidden fleet struck from behind and from the sides. The Valters suddenly realized they were not the attackers. They were the prey. They were surrounded. All ships. Full retreat! Get us out of here, Velcros shouted. But retreat was not simple. The Valter fleet was massive and tightly packed. Ships could not turn quickly without colliding with each other. And Earth had planned for this too. While the Valters tried to organize a withdrawal, they discovered something terrible. The space behind them was mined. Mines that had been carefully placed over decades suddenly activated. Ships trying to flee backward found themselves in fields of explosives. More vessels died. The tight formation that had looked so impressive now became a death trap. Ships could not maneuver. They could not escape. They could only fight or die. Colonel Jae-hoon led the counterattack from one of Earth's hidden carriers. His ship had been waiting in the asteroid belt, silent and dark, for 2 years. Now it launched its entire fighter wing toward the Valter fleet. All pilots, this is Colonel Jae-hoon. Remember your training. Hit them fast. Hit them hard. Make them regret ignoring our warnings. The human fighters moved like insects swarming around giants. They were small and fast. The Valter ships were large and powerful, but size was now a disadvantage. The fighters targeted engines and weapon systems. They used tactics the Valters had never seen before. They attacked in ways that seemed crazy but worked perfectly. One group of fighters would draw fire while another group struck from a blind spot. Some pilots would deliberately fly damaged ships toward Valter vessels, forcing them to waste ammunition on targets that were already dying. Others would hide in the debris of destroyed ships, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. The Valters were experiencing something they had not felt in centuries. Fear. They are everywhere. They are using our own debris against us. We cannot target them. They move too fast. Multiple breaches on decks 7 through 12. Velcros watched his fleet die around him. Ships that had conquered worlds were being torn apart by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was happening. Admiral, we must surrender. His second-in-command begged. Never. The Valter Empire does not surrender, and the Valter Empire will die here. An explosion rocked the flagship. The lights flickered. Smoke began to fill the bridge. Hyunwoo grabbed a support rail to steady himself. He had been waiting for this moment. He pulled a small device from his pocket and pressed it against a console. Data began flowing from the Valter computers into the device. Fleet positions, ship capabilities, command codes. Everything Earth would need to finish this. What are you doing? A Valter officer spotted him. My job, Hyunwoo replied. He pulled out a small weapon and fired. The officer fell. Alarms started blaring. Other Valters turned toward him. Hyunwoo ran. He had the data. Now he needed to survive long enough to deliver it. He sprinted through corridors filled with smoke and emergency lighting. Behind him, he could hear Valtor soldiers shouting and chasing him. He reached an escape pod bay. The door was locked. He shot the controls. The door opened. He climbed into a pod and sealed it. Outside, the Valter soldiers were banging on the door. Hyunwoo activated the launch sequence. The pod shot away from the flagship just as the soldiers broke through. It tumbled through space, surrounded by the chaos of the battle. Hyunwoo transmitted a signal. An Earth fighter broke formation and moved to intercept the pod. Back on the flagship, Velcros realized what had happened. The human. He was a spy the whole time. Find him, kill him. Sir, he has already escaped. Velcros felt his world collapsing. The spy had been on his ship for 2 years. 2 years of watching, learning, sending information back to Earth. Everything the Valters had done, every plan they had made, Earth had known about it. The battle raged for 3 days. The Valter fleet fought hard. They were experienced warriors. They had powerful weapons, but they were fighting an enemy that understood them completely. Earth had studied every Valter tactic, had prepared counters for every Valtor strategy, had built weapons specifically designed to defeat Valter technology. The Valters used energy shields. Earth used kinetic weapons that did not care about shields. The Valters relied on long-range firepower. Earth used fighters in close combat. The Valters fought in organized formations. Earth attacked from chaos and unpredictability. By the end of the first day, 20,000 Valter ships were destroyed or disabled. By the end of the second day, that number had grown to 30,000. By the end of the third day, only 8,000 Valter vessels remained functional, and they were trapped. Earth's fleet surrounded them completely. The asteroid platform still had ammunition. Mars still had missiles. And Earth's ships were ready to finish what they had started. On the Valter flagship, which was now barely functioning, Admiral Velcros sat in his command chair and stared at the screens. His fleet was gone. His career was over. His empire's reputation was shattered. An Earth transmission came through. It was General Sora. Admiral Velcros, this is General Sora. Your fleet is defeated. You can surrender now and save the lives of your remaining crews, or you can continue fighting and lose everything. The choice is yours. But understand this. We gave you warnings. We tried to avoid this. You chose war. These consequences are yours to own. Velcros looked at his officers. They were injured, exhausted, broken. They had believed the Empire was invincible. Now they knew the truth. He thought about the Empress, about how she would react to this news. He thought about the 847 worlds they had conquered. Had any of them been this prepared? Had any of them tried to warn the Empire? Maybe they had. Maybe the Vaulters never listened. He reached for the communications controls. His hand was shaking. "This is Admiral Velcros. We surrender." The fighting stopped. 8,000 Vaulter ships floated in space, damaged and surrounded. Earth's fleet maintained their positions, weapons still active. Nobody celebrated. Too many people had died. Both human and Valtor bodies drifted among the debris. General Sora stood in Earth's command center and watched the aftermath on her screens. Captain Dae-jung approached her with a report. "Final casualty count, General. We lost 470 ships, approximately 90,000 personnel killed or missing." Sora closed her eyes for a moment. 90,000 families would receive terrible news today. 90,000 people who had volunteered to defend their world were gone. The victory had come with a price, and the Vaulters, 42,000 ships destroyed. "We estimate 8 million Valtor casualties. The survivors are requesting medical assistance and basic supplies. Send medical teams to help them. And food, water, whatever they need. We are not monsters." "Yes, General." Dae-jung paused before leaving. "General, I have to say this. You were right. About everything. The defenses, the tactics, the predictions about Valtor behavior. It all worked. It worked because thousands of people spent decades preparing," Sora replied. "Engineers who built the platforms. Soldiers who trained in secret. Pilots who waited years for this moment. Scientists who designed weapons. This victory belongs to all of them." On the damaged Valtor flagship, Admiral Velcros waited in his command chair. The ship had no power except for emergency systems. Half the bridge crew was dead. The rest were injured or in shock. Velcros himself had burns on his arms and a deep cut across his forehead. "Admiral, an Earth vessel is approaching," an officer reported weakly. "Let them come." A few minutes later, a boarding party arrived. They were not violent. They were not cruel. They were professional. Human soldiers in combat armor secured the bridge quickly and efficiently. Then a woman entered. She wore a general's uniform. It was Sora. She looked at Velcros for a long moment. Then she spoke in perfect Valtor language. "Admiral, I'm General Sora. I need you to transmit a message to your Empress. Tell her that Earth is willing to discuss terms, but she should understand that this outcome was not luck. It was preparation. And if the Empire ever threatens Earth again, the result will be the same." Velcros stared at her. "You speak our language. I have been studying your Empire for 15 years. I know your history. I know your tactics. I know how you think." She sat down in a chair across from him. "Do you understand why you lost?" "You had more ships than we expected." "No, that is not why." Sora leaned forward. "You lost because you believed your past victories guaranteed future success. You lost because you saw us as primitive and dismissed our warnings. You lost because your empire has become arrogant. We conquered 847 worlds. Did any of them fight back like we did?" Velcros thought about this. No. Most worlds had surrendered quickly. Some had fought for a few days before accepting defeat. None had prepared the way Earth had prepared. None had turned their entire solar system into a weapon. "Why did you prepare so thoroughly?" he asked. "How did you even know we existed?" "We have been watching you for 60 years, Sora said. When humans developed long-range sensors, we detected your empire. We saw what you did to other worlds. We studied your methods. And we decided that if you ever came to Earth, we would be ready. 60 years of preparation for a threat that might never come. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. That is human wisdom." Velcros laughed bitterly. "We thought you were the primitive ones. Technology does not make a civilization advanced. Wisdom does. Compassion does. The ability to learn from others does." Sora stood up. "Your crew will be given medical care. You will be given food and shelter. And then we will talk about what happens next. You are not going to execute us? Why would we? The war is over. Killing you now would serve no purpose." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Admiral, you should know something. Commander Hyunwoo survived. He is safe on Earth." Velcros felt a flash of anger. "That spy. He betrayed us. He served his people, just as you served yours. The difference is that his people gave him accurate information and good orders. Think about that." Sora left the bridge. Velcro sat alone among his dead officers and thought about everything that had happened. The spy had been on his ship for 2 years, friendly, helpful, always asking questions, always learning. And Velcros had told him everything because he thought the human was just a curious primitive. Meanwhile, on Earth, Hyunwoo was being debriefed in a secure facility. He had delivered the data he stole from the flagship. Now he was telling his story to a room full of intelligence officers. "They never suspected me," he said. "They thought I was impressed by their empire. They thought I wanted to learn from them. They told me about their technology, their tactics, their plans, everything." "You were there for 2 years," one officer said. "That must have been difficult." "It was, but it was necessary. Every piece of information I gathered saved human lives in the battle." An officer from diplomatic services raised her hand. "What are they like? The Valters? As people?" Hyunwoo thought carefully. "They are not evil. They truly believe they are bringing order to the galaxy. They think their way of life is superior, and they are helping other species by conquering them. They cannot imagine that someone would not want to join their empire. That makes them dangerous." "Yes, because they do not question themselves. They do not doubt. And they do not learn from their victims." The debriefing continued for hours. When it was finally over, Hyunwoo was taken to a medical facility for a checkup. There he met Captain Dae-jung, who had been promoted to admiral for his role in the battle. "Hyunwoo, good to see you alive." "Good to be alive, Admiral." They shook hands. Dae-jung sat down next to him. "The general wants you to be part of the negotiation team. You know the Valters better than anyone. What are we negotiating? Peace terms, reparations, technology sharing, and most importantly, what happens to the Valtor Empire now?" Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "You know that news of this defeat will spread across the galaxy, right? Every species the Valtors conquered will hear about it. Some will rebel. That is my concern too. The Valtor Empire might collapse completely. That could create chaos throughout their territory. Or it could create freedom. Perhaps both." Over the next few weeks, negotiations began. The talks were held on a neutral space station that Earth had quickly constructed between Earth and Mars. General Sora led the human delegation. Empress Lithara sent her senior diplomats to represent the Empire. The Valtor diplomats arrived expecting harsh terms. They expected Earth to demand tribute, territory, enslavement. That is what the Valtor Empire would have demanded if they had won. But Earth's terms were different. "We want 3 things, Sora explained in the first meeting. First, the Valtor Empire must withdraw all military forces from this sector of space. A zone extending 100 light-years from Earth will be considered human territory." "That is acceptable," the lead Valtor diplomat said carefully. "Second, the Empire will provide detailed information about your technology. In return, we will share some of ours. This is not a demand for surrender. This is an exchange between equals." The Valtor diplomat looked surprised. "You consider us equals? After defeating us? We defeated your fleet. That does not make your entire civilization worthless. You have knowledge we can learn from. And apparently you have things to learn from us." The diplomat nodded slowly. This was not what he had expected. "Third, and most important, you will free any world in your empire that wishes to be free. You will hold referendums on every conquered planet. If they vote to remain part of the empire, they can stay. If they vote for independence, you will grant it." Now the Valtor diplomat looked shocked. "That could destroy the empire. Half our worlds might leave. Then perhaps they were never truly part of your empire," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Perhaps they were just prisoners." The negotiations continued for months. News of Earth's victory spread throughout the galaxy exactly as predicted. Rebellions started on 17 Valtor-controlled worlds. Some were peaceful protests. Others were violent uprisings. The Empire's military was too damaged to respond effectively. Empress Lithara watched her empire begin to crumble. She sat in her throne room and received reports of chaos and defeat. Her advisors argued about what to do. Some wanted to refuse Earth's terms and fight to restore order. Others wanted to accept the terms and salvage what remained. "What do you think we should do?" she asked her oldest advisor. "Empress, we have 2 choices. We can fight to maintain the old empire and probably lose everything, or we can accept that the galaxy has changed and adapt to this new reality." "Adapt how?" "By becoming partners instead of conquerors. By offering friendship instead of demanding submission. By learning from Earth instead of despising them." Lithara was silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "Send a message to General Sora. Tell her the Empire accepts all terms. Tell her I want to meet with her personally. The meeting happened 2 weeks later. Empress Lethera traveled to Earth aboard a diplomatic vessel. It was the first time a Valtor ruler had visited a world they had tried to conquer. Security was tight, but Sora had insisted on showing respect to the Empress despite their recent conflict. 6 months after the battle, the galaxy was a different place. The Valtor Empire still existed, but it was smaller. 214 worlds had voted for independence. Most had done so peacefully. A few had required intervention from Earth peacekeepers to prevent violence. The Empress had honored every vote, just as the treaty required. Ambassador Hyunwoo traveled between these newly free worlds as Earth's chief diplomat. His job was to help them establish governments, build defenses, and connect with other species. It was difficult work. Many worlds had been under Valtor control for centuries. They had forgotten how to govern themselves. Ambassador, the council is ready for you, an aide said. Hyunwoo entered a large chamber on the world of Paros. This planet had been one of the first conquered by the Valtors 3,000 years ago. Its people had been slaves for so long that freedom felt strange to them. 50 representatives from different Paros regions sat waiting. They looked nervous. One of them, an elder named Corvin, stood to speak. Ambassador Hyunwoo, we are grateful for Earth's help, but we are afraid. The Valtors may return. We have no military, no weapons, no way to defend ourselves if they change their minds. I understand your fear, Hyunwoo said. That is why Earth has created the Terran Coalition. It is an alliance of free worlds. Members agree to help defend each other. Earth will provide training, technology, and support to any world that joins. What does Earth want in return? Friendship, trade, cultural exchange? We do not want to rule you. We want to know you. The representatives looked at each other. This was new to them. The Valtors had taken everything. Earth was offering partnership instead. We would like to join this coalition, Corvin said finally. If you will have us. We will, Hyunwoo replied with a smile. Welcome to the Alliance. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Within 6 months, 150 worlds had joined the Terran Coalition. It was not an empire. It was a voluntary association of independent planets who chose to stand together. Back on Earth, Admiral Dae Jung was facing a different challenge. He stood on the observation deck of Earth's largest orbital shipyard and watched construction crews work on a new type of vessel. These were not warships designed to fight the Valtors. These were exploration ships designed to discover what else existed in the galaxy. How long until the first one is ready? He asked the chief engineer. 3 months, Admiral. We are building them as fast as we can. Good. We spent 60 years preparing for war. Now we need to prepare for peace. The engineer nodded. What do you think we will find out there? I do not know. That is why we need to look. Dae Jung's communicator buzzed. It was General Sora calling from Earth. Admiral, we have a situation. The Kelvin hegemony has requested a meeting. Dae Jung frowned. The Kelvins were another major power in the galaxy. They controlled about 300 worlds and had a reputation for aggressive expansion. They had been watching Earth's war with the Valtors very carefully. What do they want? They want to talk about boundaries, about trade, about making sure we do not become enemies. That is a polite way of saying they are afraid of us. Yes. They saw what we did to the Valtors. They do not want the same thing to happen to them. Good. Fear can be a foundation for peace as long as it comes with respect. The meeting with the Kelvins happened 2 weeks later. Their delegation arrived on Earth aboard an impressive ship. The Kelvin ambassador was a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. She introduced herself as Ambassador Tella. General Sora, Admiral Dae Jung. I bring greetings from the Kelvin hegemony, Tella said formally. Welcome to Earth, Sora replied. They moved to a conference room. The Kelvin delegation seemed nervous. They kept looking around as if expecting to see weapons or traps. Dae Jung understood. Earth had become frightening to aggressive species. Let me be direct, Tella said once everyone was seated. The hegemony wants to ensure that our territories do not overlap. We have no interest in conquering Earth or its coalition. We hope you have no interest in conquering our worlds. We do not, Sora said simply. Earth does not seek empire. We seek security and friendship. The Valtors learned that the hard way. The Valtors were warned twice. They chose to attack anyway. If the hegemony chooses peace, we will be peaceful. Tella relaxed slightly. That is good to hear. The hegemony would like to propose a treaty. We will respect your territory. You will respect ours. We will trade but not compete militarily. That sounds reasonable, Daejong said. But I have a question. You control 300 worlds. How many of them want to be controlled? Tella's expression hardened. That is an internal matter. It is also a matter that started a rebellion across Valter space. If your subject worlds are unhappy, they might seek Earth's protection. We would rather avoid that situation through honest discussion. The negotiations continued for days. Eventually, a treaty was signed. The hegemony agreed to allow more autonomy for its member worlds. In return, Earth agreed not to encourage rebellions. It was not a perfect solution, but it was better than war. More treaties followed, with the Corvin Union, with the Spiral Confederacy, with dozens of smaller powers. Earth became a center of diplomatic activity. Species that had never spoken to each other before started talking because Earth brought them together. Representative Min Seok led Earth's humanitarian efforts. He traveled to worlds that were recovering from Valter rule and helped them rebuild. On one world called Tarnus, he found a population that was starving because the Valters had taken all their food production equipment when they left. Ambassador, we have nothing, the Tarnus leader said. Our people are dying. Can Earth help us? Yes, Min Seok said. We will send food immediately, and we will send engineers to help you build new production facilities. What will this cost us? Nothing. This is not a transaction. This is what friends do for each other. The Tarnus leader began to cry. The Valters would never have helped us like this. We are not the Valters. Stories like this spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had feared humans after the battle now began to respect them for different reasons. Earth had proven it could destroy enemies. Now it was proving it could help friends. Back on the Valter homeworld, Empress Lithara was adapting to her empire's new reality. She had kept her throne, but her power was greatly reduced. Many Valter citizens were angry about the defeat. They blamed her for choosing war with Earth. She had survived 3 assassination attempts. One day she received an unexpected visitor. It was General Sora, Empress. Thank you for seeing me. General Sora, I'm surprised. Why would Earth's military leader visit the ruler of your defeated enemy? Because we are not enemies anymore. And because I want to understand something. They walked through the palace gardens. Valtor flowers bloomed in shades of purple and gold. Sora admired them quietly. What do you want to understand? Lithara asked. Why your empire conquered so many worlds. What were you trying to achieve? Lithara was silent for a moment. Order, unity. The Valter people believe that chaos is the greatest evil in the universe. We conquered to create order, to bring all species under a single government that could maintain peace. But the species you conquered did not want that peace. We thought they would learn to appreciate it. That is the mistake, Sora said gently. You cannot force people to appreciate something. You can only invite them to choose it. Is that what Earth is doing? Inviting species to join your coalition? Yes, some accept, some decline. We respect both choices. Lithara looked at the human general with a mixture of sadness and respect. You defeated us completely. You could have destroyed my empire. Why did you choose mercy? Because we are all sharing this galaxy. We can share it as enemies, always fighting, always afraid. Or we can share it as neighbors who respect each other's boundaries. The second option seemed better. They continued walking. Lithara asked many questions about Earth, about human philosophy, about why humans behave so differently from Valters. Sora answered honestly. By the time the visit ended, something had changed between them. Not friendship exactly, but understanding. A year after the battle, Earth held a memorial service. The names of all 90,000 humans who died in the defense were read aloud. It took 3 days. Families gathered. Leaders spoke. The entire planet took time to remember. Admiral Daejong gave a speech that was broadcast across the coalition. We did not want this war. We tried to avoid it. But when it came, we fought with everything we had. These 90,000 people gave their lives so that Earth could remain free, so that humans could choose our own path. We honor them today, and we promise that their sacrifice will mean something. Earth will use its strength to protect the weak, to support the free, and to build a galaxy where everyone has the right to choose their own future. In the crowd, Hyunwoo stood with other survivors. He thought about the 2 years he spent pretending to be someone else. The loneliness, the danger, The weight of knowing that millions of lives depended on the information he gathered, it had been worth it. But he hoped he would never have to do it again. On the Valter homeworld, Velcros watched the memorial service on a screen. He was old now. The trial and his years teaching had aged him. But he watched every minute of the ceremony. He saw the faces of the families. He heard the names of the dead.